Greetings. If you've been watching my channel lately, you may have noticed that I have started a new adventure with a brand new tarot deck, new to me at least, the Santa Muerte Tarot. Do not change the channel because this video is not going to be about that deck. I'm going to be filming another video a little bit later using the deck, but the reason I mention it is the very beginning of the readings that I was doing with the deck, I was getting a little stuck on some of the cards. And I will tell you why, and only because I think it relates to what I want to talk to you here today about. In the book that comes with the deck, when it talks about the description, the indications for each card, there is something included called Advice from the Dead, which is a message from the dead, which is supposed to give you a little bit of a clue as to where you might take the reading. I really like that. I love that that information being provided, and that is really why I'm getting to know the deck in the first place, beginning right now, particularly because as we get closer to Samhain, I hope to be able to use that deck to do some serious communication with the ancestors. Okay, so, but anyway, I was trying to follow the same a series that I've talked to before when I was doing the Into the Wildwood journey. The way of comparing the Rider-Waite meanings of the cards, the traditional meanings of the cards, and looking to see what kind of a twist the deck was showing me. And I was getting a little stuck on some of the cards because I think I was looking, I don't know if there was a warning coming from the dead or if it was a, just advice, simple advice, or good news, reporting good news from the dead. I wasn't, for some reason I was having a little block in that part of the reading. So I was looking for help, what I wanted to say. And in the past, I took, if you want to look back, probably several years in the playlist, I might have spoken about it, I'm not sure, but I was doing yes, I know I did speak about it because I started to do a little bit of using a Lenormand deck in conjunction with my Hoi Polloi deck to do a little bit extra clarification on some readings. And I even ran a special for a while in the fall where I was doing readings for a special price. I did a good many of them, and they were popular, where I actually combined Hoi Polloi, probably, I want to say maybe 16 cards, at least 12, maybe 16 cards with the normal 10 cards of the Celtic Cross spread. So that was quite an insight. I really liked the idea of combining the Lenormand cards with the Rider-Waite based system. It worked really well for what I was doing. So I got the idea, I was trying to think, what can I do to maybe clarify, help myself to really better understand the cards that I was pulling in this new deck, since it was so new to me. And I got the idea of using runes in combination. And that is what we're talking about today. So if you're here to talk about runes, you're in the right place. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to go any further really into the tarot in this video. But I want to say that a while ago, again, probably several years ago, I did do a video, very detailed video actually, where I talked about runes, maybe a couple of them. But in that video I was talking about a different alphabet, a different rune, which was an actual ancient alphabet used by the Druids. And the meanings there. And as a matter of fact, there was even a Facebook group at the time, some of you may have participated in, where we were trying to learn that rune system for purposes of divination using the runes alone. Now, I don't do it very often. I really enjoyed it. I like the symbolism, the straightforward symbolism that the runes offer. And when you're casting runes, you use the runes alone. You hold them in your hand, and you either drop them usually on some kind of a grid, a table, or a cloth. I have a special cloth with a set of runes that I do have. And it depends on how they fall or where they fall, how they're read. If they are face up, you would read them. If they're face down, meaning the symbol being down, so that you cannot see the symbol, you disregard those runes, put them back on your bag or whatever. And then you look at the other runes and see where they lay on the table, how they relate to each other, etc. That's why I got the idea for using the runes in combination with the tarot. Because I thought, wouldn't it be really cool to associate the cards with the deck? And at first I thought I would just use runes, and after I have a slaying, my layout, maybe just allowing those runes to fall, and see if any fall on top or close to any of the cards in the setting. Thought that'd be lovely. But since when I'm using this tarot, acquainting myself with the deck and the way I'm using it, I'm only really pulling 3 cards. So I thought instead of doing that, I might pull an associated rune to be with the card. Okay, so I thought that'd be very cool. That'd be very cool. Then I thought, again, perhaps the runes that I am used to using are not exactly what I want to use for this. I do know there are different kinds of runes. And if you would do a search on Google, you would see that there are something that they call the witches' runes. And the witches' runes are not ancient like the other system that I talked about before. I think they just are 20th century invention by I'm not sure who. I'm not even sure that they're something that is one system. I don't know. I do know that there are people use different. You can buy sets of runes in 13 or in 10 or in 8. 8 being, they would probably be associated with the Sabbats. I'm not sure what a set of 10 would associate with, but a set of 13, which is what I'm using today, is also very commonly used. And I think it's just having to do with the idea that there are usually 13 full moons in a year. Maybe that's why we're using 13. The 13 seems commonly associated with witches. That could be, I'm not sure. But I saw this set of 13 over and over again many times on the internet, so I thought this is what I would be using. And it's simple, again, simple symbols. But I was hoping, and we're going to do a video after this one to see if it does work, if maybe this will give a little bit of clarification to some of the confusion I was having with some of the cards in that tarot deck. But right now, this video is just going to be talking about the runes, this system, the witches' runes, which is a very simple set of 13 runes that I have made using information I found on the internet. I can't credit anybody really with the information. It's commonly there. And this is my own interpretation of the use for the runes. I just want to make that clear. I'm not saying that this is what they're for. I know there are some people who take divination with runes very seriously, and I'm not trying to make it not serious. I think it's very enjoyable. I hope to get a little better at it. But again, I'm using this particular set of runes that I am making, showing you how I did that today, for a specific purpose. I just want to make that clear, because people get upset if you go off on these tangents without reason. Okay, so anyway, let's get down to it. It's not a big video. It's not a complication. I just want to show you the runes in case you're interested in doing what I'm doing with them, or maybe you just want to use them in another kind of divination on your own. Now, the runes that I have bought before, which I have purchased the runes that I used before in my video. Well, no, actually I did not. The runes that I have, I'm misspeaking again. I think the runes that I did make some runes, an alphabet rune, that was a Druid alphabet, which are runes as well. There's another rune set that I have purchased Now I'm going to have to get that out and look at it. But that is probably the Luvark runes. And that is, they're made on, all of the stones are exactly the same. They're tiles or stones or, flat something. And they're all exactly the same, because very often you can just put your hand in the bag and just pull one rune, and that way they all feel exactly the same, etc. Which would have maybe been ideal for what I'm doing, but since I'm doing it a little different again, I am just using rocks. I'm all about rocks. For some reason, I'm either trying to get myself really grounded, or my golden retrievers are having an effect on me, because my golden retrievers, I've got 2 of them, they are continually trying to sneak rocks into the house, stones. They collect in their mouth, they get them, they love to chew on the rocks, which we continually take from them, but they just love it. And they hide them in their mouth. You look at them and they're looking at you with a funny expression on their face, and you know they have something in their mouth, and surely it's a rock, and they're very good at it. And we have collections of rocks outside in the garden. We have collections of rocks inside in dishes where we sort of stash the rocks as we take them from them. And this is what gave me the idea, I think. I'm collecting rocks continually. I'm doing some projects, other projects with rocks. There's a reason I'm trying to get myself grounded right now. Maybe with the rocks. But these rocks that I'm using are not particularly rocks that I've taken from my dogs, but they're very similar in size to the ones I've taken with my dogs. And my only criteria for them, I'll pull one out. This is just the size rock that I'm using. And here I just have one with a peace sign. But my only criteria really for the rock was it was not too terribly heavy. It was something I could put in my hand. And it was something that if it fell, it could either land face up or it could land face down. This one's not a really good one because it's sort of rounded on the back. But also this is not good. I want to say I don't want to drop these too much because I am on a glass table. I'm out here in my gazebo today and on a glass table. So I don't want to be dropping a lot of runes. But I didn't want anything too heavy. But I wanted to be able to paint on the surface of the rock. That's what I was looking for. Okay. And I have them painted, and I'm just going to hold, the rocks up one at a time, so you can see that I do have them on the rocks. But I have them also on a card that I can hold up. Maybe you can see the symbol better. So to show you what symbol that what I did use, okay? But anyway, 13 symbols. Again, these are pretty commonly used. You can see some variations probably, but this is the 13. I saw the same 13 several times, so I think this is something that's pretty common to use. And the first one that I saw usually listed is the sun. And I'll hold up the rock. Here's my sun. I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to tell you about the sun, what it means, and then I'll show you the card because I'm reading off the card, okay? The sun is a very positive rock, a very positive rune, I will call it. It's often associated with happiness, and I think that's something we can relate to easily. It could indicate the start of something new, a good decision or a correct answer, good health or healing that is in place, some kind of good news, some kind of justice, or a positive end to something. Very positive. You can see that the runes normally they have some kind of a personality. This one is a positive personality. Okay? And it is represented simply by a circle with 8 points. 8 rays of the sun. I hope you can see that. That's pretty simple. The camera's a little far from me, so I don't know if you can see it or not, but I hope you can. Okay? The second rune is the moon. And here I have it on a rock, and it is simply a crescent shape, crescent moon. And this moon is characterized as being mysterious. It's often associated with secret energy, something secret, or a secretive energy you don't know about. It's kind of like, we don't understand it when there's a full moon, why there are so many people in the emergency room, or we don't understand why in a classroom during a full moon the kids are really acting kind of nuts. So it's a kind of an energy, okay, associated with the moon, practical energy associated with the moon is also associated with the moonic rune, something that we may not understand. Think of the tides, though, when we think of the moon. The effect the moon has on the tides is a slow kind of change. So if there is a change to happen, it's going to be slow. Change happens all the time, as the tides tell us, but they're slow. They're slow. You can go to the beach and it can be low tide and you can be miles away from the water with your towel, and before you know it, that water is coming up on your blanket, and you didn't hardly even notice it happening. It happened so slowly. And it got closer, closer, closer. So it's also associated, this rune, with hidden agendas or secrets of some kind, feminine energy or the imagination, or the cyclic motion, how things are good but they can turn bad, and then they can be bad and they can turn good again. Okay, things change, nothing stays the same. Change is inevitable. And again, the moon is the crescent shape of the moon on the rune. Okay? The next one, it's hard to see on a rock, very hard to see on a rock. It's called flight, and it's really representative by the lines that you would see if you would look at a bird in flight. The silhouette of the, not the silhouette, but the straight on view of the bird, which I will show you on the card in a minute. And it's a very sociable rune. The personality of this rune is sociable, often associated with movement, just like a bird, always moving, always moving. Very seldom do you see a bird just standing there. If he's going to be standing there, he's not going to stay there very long. So this has to do with being sociable, things that you would associate with the characteristics of being sociable, spreading information or communicating with other people, perhaps methods of travel, either physical travel by car or boat or train or whatever, but it also could be the traveling of information from one person to the next, by word of mouth, by talking or networking, or some kind of news, getting some kind of news. I'm smiling because there's so many birds around me doing all kinds of really fun things, and I think we're having a little mating dance going on over here on the lime tree. I wish I could turn that around for you, but by the time I turned the camera around, I think they would be finished. But it's really lovely. Okay. Anyway, flight, and this is, you can see, maybe you can see this. What I was talking to you about, if you would just draw a sketch of the, like a clip art to indicate wings or flight of a bird from the front. That's the shape that we're talking about for flight. Okay, the next one they're not in any kind of order. My cards are kind of have been shuffled a bit, so but this is just another one, and this one is the waves. And here we just have some squiggly on my rock. If you can see, it is just squiggly lines. My stone, I should call them stones, they're not actually rocks. And this is actually, by the way, a really good stone. It's a nice size, it's not heavy, it's very flat on both sides, so it's lightweight. So if I had more of these, I would be using these. I'm just using what I had. But again, this is also, as you can see, just as the birds are associated with movement, the waves are also associated with movement. But this, rather than a physical movement like we would see for the flight one we associate with birds, this one we associate with movement which is more emotional or spiritual rather than physical motion. So this could be connection to the spirit world. It also could be feelings of movement that you don't understand, like feeling that, oh, I just feel that everything's out of control right now. I don't know what's going on. There's something in the air. There's, I'm confused. That those feelings of confusion or answers that are unclear, misunderstandings, those kind of things. But also, it could mean time is passing. You don't see time passing, you just know it's passing. Or it can mean feeling as though you are being passed. Either people are using you to get from one place to another, or Maybe they're just not using you at all. Maybe you're just being ignored. You're being passed over. They're going around you, moving past you without including you. So that's a little bit of an interesting comparison you see between movement with the flight and the waves. And that's what I want. Oh, here's the graphic for that stone. You see the squiggly lines. That represents the current in the water. And this is what I mean by the runes. Maybe being able to add some kind of an explanation. Give me a little clear message, because you can see very easily that there are some tarot cards that might say something about movement or something about communication, but who's the communication with? Or is it, what kind of movement? Is it physical, emotional, spiritual? You see, it could add to the clarification of that very easily. Okay, another really positive, we might kind of say a positive rune, is called the Star. And as you would guess, I don't know if you can see it because this rock is not very dark, but it is simply a 8 legs star, centering from the middle and going outward in 8 rays. This is a kind of a rune that is often associated with getting your wish, something coming true. You made a wish and it has happened for you, or a goal, a long-time goal that you've held is finally going to be realized. It could be a green light to go, the message to go on after what you want. It can talk about what your life's purpose is. If it's in a tarot spread, it's followed in a tarot spread. It could be that, but in just a runic divination with the runes alone, this kind of what is your clue as to your life purpose? Look at the runes that are recited, and that will give you a clue, or around it, to see what it may be indicating that your life's purpose, other characteristics of your life's purpose. The Star rune also could indicate freedom from troubles, or just being true to yourself, just not trying to put up a false persona, go with your persona, but who are you really, and being comfortable in who that is. And here's the graphic for the Star, just as I described it. A 1 center point, 8 rays, if you want to call them 8 lines, going out from the center. Okay? Alright. The next rune we're going to talk about is the Crossroads. And it is just 2 perpendicular lines with arrows going in each direction, showing the 4 different directions that we can go in. And this is, it would seem like with the arrows, this is one that I would find really interesting. When you first see the graphic, and you'll see when I hold it up, it would seem, since the arrows are going, and if you remember from geometry, when you see a line with an arrow, it means it goes indefinitely in that direction, right? From a point, arrow is supposed to imply that it goes on and on forever in a straight line. On the runes, when you see the crossroads on the runes, it has a little to do with the arrows where they're going than it has to do with that center point, because it's a troublesome rune. It's a rune that often is associated with the fact immobility due to some kind of blockage, unable to move, being stuck there, and that point of these, the intersection of the lines. It can be an emotional, spiritual blockage. It could be a physical blockage. It could be fear of change, unable to move because you're afraid of things being different, not having the confidence to go on, too many choices in front of you, right? Improper planning, or just a major life decision that has to be made and you're just sort of stuck with making it. And here's what I was talking about with the graphic. You see the center point of the lines where the 2 perpendicular lines intersect, and then you see the arrows going off in each direction. It is that center point that we're talking about. Which way do you go? The arrow points 4 ways, and you don't know which one to take, so you just are stuck in the middle. I find that an interesting way to look at things. Okay, the next one is harvest, and I can't even tell you what this means. I'm going to hold it up, and I'll hold up the thing in a minute. I'm not sure. I do know that it's a crescent moon at the bottom, and it could be simply a lot of things sprouting up out of that crescent moon, or whatever these lines are indicating. And you'll see when I hold up the graphic, I've looked and looked in different places on the internet, and I'm not exactly sure where this graphic comes from. It's just a little funny. But anyway, it's a very positive, as you can imagine. Again, a positive rune, because it talks of just anything that you would associate with harvest, of plenty or abundance. It indicates the fruits of our labors or the rewards. It talks about being able to sustain yourself, to employ yourself, depend on yourself. It talks about good fortune. It talks about education, which is preparedness, the gain of knowledge. You can harvest at that time with making an intelligent decision. The benefits that come from believing in yourself, or simply good karma. And I'll show you, I want to show you the graphic right now, because you can see what I mean. It might be very clear to you what it is. To me, I'm not sure. But we see the crescent moon shape at the bottom, and then the lines. There's little circles up above all the lines at the end of them. They could be little heads, or little flowers, or little, I don't know what, something at the end of all those little lines. So, harvest, a positive rune. Okay, then we have two kind of go together. The first one is man, an arrow, shape of an arrow. This is simply a masculine rune. It doesn't necessarily mean a man. It could mean a man, but it's usually the characteristics that are traditionally considered to be masculine or male, which I think we know now in our society that's kind of nonsense to most people, but you know exactly what I mean. The tarot has the same kind of indications. When we have some cards that have shown male, it could be a male or male tendencies, or male, what we consider to be traditional male characteristics. The same in the runes, okay? So in that way, we mean action. Action, some kind of action, acting on something. Being protective of loved ones, fatherhood, being a provider. I know some feminist women right now are kind of going crazy when I say this, but I understand that. But you know, that's traditionally a male characteristic. Being strong, being confident, in showing leadership, displaying leadership, or just simply dominance. Okay. So we have the male energy. I wish you came up with a different name, and there's the graphic for that. And then, of course, you guessed it, the next one would be woman. Why, oh why? The arrowhead is pointed inward, down towards the line rather than away from the line, which we think of a traditional feminine energies, female characteristics, instead of, you know, just like in the tarot, an inward caring thoughtfulness, a nurturer or healer. Could be a professional healer, something to do with the home, something to do with passion or creativity, motherhood, softness, subtleness. If it's a change and you see beside it a mother, the woman energy, you would think it's a change, but it's a subtle change, or it's an internal change rather than a physical change of place, like you might see if it was a male, the man rune beside the change. Do you see the difference? It would be an action rather than or a physical movement, different kind of change. So that's why you need to read, and them not in a sexual way of male, female, man, woman, but in the kind of action, the kind of characteristics, how that could affect your reading, how that could affect how you see the other runes in the spread, or the tarot cards in the spread. Okay, and here we have what I mean by the line, the arrow. The point of the arrow is if you took the point of the male arrow and turned it upside down, it would be pointing back towards the line. So it's a Y, shape of a Y. Okay. Okay. Now we have romance. Okay, and we have two. Wait, I'm going to do this first. I'm going to do rings first, because rings, it's just 3 concentric circles. Concentric meaning they overlap each other. They're the same size. They're supposed to be the same, except in an overlapping pattern. I can't draw 3 circles the absolute same, but that's what it sort of means. But the rings are all about a tie or bonding in some way. Okay, so this could mean partnerships or friendships. It could mean circumstances just involving other people, or interacting with others, particularly not just interacting with strangers, but interacting with people that you share common interests with, belonging to groups or joining groups, kind of thing. It also could mean taking 2 separate things, this something, and that something, and putting them together to make something totally new from the 2 of them, 2 things. Or it can mean a new bond forming, or it can mean an old bond breaking. Something about it. Now remember, we would know the difference because what runes would be around it in the spread, or on, if we're going to use it with the Sensitive Tarot deck, the clues would come from the cards themselves. And here is this, and again, I can't even on paper draw 3 really true concentric circles, but that's what that's supposed to mean. Okay. Now the reason I wanted to do this one first, because another one that goes about along the same lines as I mentioned is romance. And it's also considered to be a bonding rune. This way, they're joined, it's like you would take 3 petals and joining them along the end and making like a little flower. Okay, this one also has to do with relationships and partnerships, but this is one of a deep connection. This is a long-term partnership rather than a new one. This is a relationship, an emotional connection with somebody, either a very, very close friend rather than just a friend, a committed relationship kind of a thing, where there's deep connection on a personal level, with emotional level, or there's mutual love, rather than just interacting with people because you share a certain interest, but reenacting with a person or group because you share a passion of some kind, either with each other or with someone that you're doing. So you see the difference there. You really click with the group. It's not like you're not just a group of people wearing blue shirts. You're a group of people that are wearing blue shirts because you believe in the cause that the blue shirt stands for, or the group of people that the blue shirts represent. It could mean a growing appreciation with something. It could also mean marriage, if you're looking for marriage. And this is the shape I was talking about. They see how they join on the end of petals of a flower, 3 like petals joining there on the tip, becoming one flower, if that's what you want to call it. Think of the 3 of hearts, the 3 of cups, I mean, in the tarot. Okay, the next tarot, we've got 2 more only. The next one is a very spiritual rune, and you can't see this at all, what it is. I know it looks hard on this rock, on this stone, but it is the eye, and that's what it's supposed to be, an eye. I'll show you the graphic in a minute. You'll be able to see that better. It's often associated with, this psychic abilities. And you see, I have an eye like this painted on my tarot sign out that hangs out at my front walkway on my house. You might have seen that picture. So it could be associated with, in my case, tarot, reading the tarot, or psychic. You all see that eye, so you know what I'm talking about. But it also represents the ability to see things as they truly are. To see the truth, just to witness something. You actually were there to witness it. It could also just be visual activities. Something having to do with power or confidence. It comes with knowing something to be true, or knowing something, to be correct or right. It could also just mean importance. Something is really important, like check this out. My eye is on this. What am I looking at? Look around again in the rune for other clues. What is the rune next to? What is it looking at, or what is looking at the rune? Or in the cards, look for what is maybe the cards that are looking in that way, or what is it looking at? What is it associated with in the cards? Okay, in divination. So that's kind of cool. And this is the graphic associated with that. I hope you can see it better on the card than you can on the stone. But I think you know what I'm talking about. You can Google that, and if you're not sure. Maybe I'll take a picture of my sign. Okay, and the very last one is the scythe. The scythe. Okay. It's a dramatic rune. It's often associated with dramatic, sudden change. Sudden change. So it's a complete opposite from the crossroads, right? It's something completely changing. A different direction. Or instead of being stuck, making a final decision, actually completing something instead of standing there waiting around. It could be walking away from somebody, or removing something. It not just has to be a person, removing someone or something from your life, cutting away something out of your life. It could also mean a warning of danger, that something is dangerous and you need to proceed with caution. Okay, so it's not just telling you to move quickly, it's telling you to be careful, to look out, to look out. Here's the rune. The graphic associated with the scythe. Okay. Now, just like I said, you can go ahead and you can try a reading from the runes. These are kind of a little bit large, but I always remember making them for something that I was making them to use with tarot. So I'm not likely to do that. But if I did not have a glasswood table, on a simple wooden table, I could take this handful of runes and I could let them drop. And I did so easily. And I know you can't really see my table, but this one was under. The ones that landed upside down, I have 8 that landed upside down, and what I still have on my table are the ones that I would read if I was just going to do this, okay? And I happen to have this tablecloth. I don't even, it's a coincidence. But the tablecloth that is on this table right now is the wheel, represents this astrological chart and the positions of the astrological signs in the houses in the sky, and the positions in the sky. Starting here with we have here, we have Aquarius, Pisces, going around. The planets and the numbers and the symbols. It's just a really cool tablecloth. And the sun and the star both landed in the center of the tablecloth, which is the sun image. And then I have in Taurus, if we wanted to say that, the man and harvest. And in Aries, we have waves. Was it waves? Yeah, the waves. Okay. So that, if I wanted to read something, I could read, that could make sense on my board here. I could maybe try to read what that meant. I could also have putting that out on I have a cloth. Sometimes you go inside the circle, and then we have furthest away. So in the center, I have the star and the sun. Outside, and I have harvesting, and I have the wave, and then further out from that is man. So I could read that, make some kind of sense of that. If you wanted to read what that says, if you want to try, you can leave that in the comments below. That's kind of cool. But for my use, I'm going to be putting a video up next. I'm going to do a pull. I'm going to pull 3 cards out of the Santa Muerte deck, and then I'm going to pull 3 runes randomly, 1 to represent each card, to see if I can get a little bit of a meaning that way. So if you're interested in how that turns out, stay tuned, look for the video that's going to be coming up next. If you're interested in runes, maybe we'll do a little bit more on runes in the future, just on divination using runes. If you're interested in what I think I want to say, 2 old videos, I'll have to look and see if I can find which one they are. I knew one time I did the Ogam, which are runes, which is actually a druid alphabet. I did when I made runes for that, because I have those on. I don't know how I did it. I must have, because I know my husband carries those on his staff that he carries. I'll have to check that out and let you know. And then I also have I think they're the other runes, the Viking runes, probably when did I do that video? I'm not sure I did. But those are the runes that I use. I'll have to check and see. And if I have not, I will definitely get those runes out and do video. But those are the runes that I used as a part of the Facebook group when we were trying to learn the runes. So I'm not sure why I'm wearing my reading glasses, because that's kind of weird. Okay. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it's something new. I'm always looking for different ways, different ways to assist me when I'm trying to learn about a new deck. But I like this too, because it's a different form of divination, and I think it's always fun when you use any kind of divination to try a different form and to see how that feels for you. We get real comfortable in what's familiar. Just like I got real comfortable in the same old tarot deck, I found a whole way of reading tarot, a new way of reading tarot when I branched out and tried some new decks. So I'm going to look at divination in the same way and try some different methods and see how they work for me. So anyway, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next reading in the Santa Muerte. And like always, I'm Rebecca, and I wish you blessings.